All right.
All right.
Sir,
Hi, everybody.
you're on.
So we decided we're going to try this again. We're going to be, I mean, it is what it is. It's a new world for us still, this Zoom world, but we're going to talk about some plans. We're going to kind of go a little bit further with it, but I got a feeling you might like what we're going to do. I like it and I'm kind of excited. But first things first, wanted to talk about the website and the online training with my partners here, and just let everyone know what we got going. So, it's awesome.
He wants to join in. This is Harley, by the way.
Cool. Harley.
But my little buddy. Yeah.
So yeah, I got my dog's Yamaha. No, I'm joking. So no, so with the website, I keep saying the website, but the online training, we're going to start to platform this a bit more. There's a million things we're doing, but I'm going to start with that. A lot of people have wanted like intermediate, advanced material, and I've held back on a lot of it. A lot of it I haven't filmed, but I've literally held back on a lot of it because I want to make sure that everybody has the material going forward and what they have. And I find that, like most people, they're going to jump past the stuff that I need them to look at first and then to get into it. Other people have written me, how come you don't have this? I want this. And I've been a little reluctant because I don't want them to just force feed everything and then you're out and gone. I want to know what you're doing. I want to know how you got it and how you're progressing along. So, and I think the beginning level material is really valid. And I think there's a lot of it. But I just think that people need to really train that. And I'm, like most of the people that are training online, of course, there's some that I've never met, but especially even this year, I've had a lot of people coming on Zoom with me now. In fact, my days are filled. That's what I've been doing all morning long, is teaching on Zoom. And I watch it and I'm thinking, with some of the people, I'm like, yeah, you got it. This is a good place for them to be. They don't need to move on from that. So where I'm getting to is with you guys, we're thinking of doing more of a tier system towards, all right, yeah, there. Now we're going to graduate into that material and you'll get access into that. So anything you want to add?
Yeah. And I think probably one of the things we're going to work on down the road is kind of have a syllabus so that if someone starts as a beginner, they kind of know this is what I need to walk through and check. Because if you do have all access, I mean, at a beginner, let's say you just started martial arts, you're kind of lost because you're like, oh, what am I supposed to watch? So hopefully we'll have a nice sequence down to say, here's the flow. This is where you need to start. After this, go to this video series and start watching them. And I think that'll help a lot for people who are new. And of course, the seasoned martial artists out there, you can kind of go wherever you want, and it's going to be amazing when it's all done.
Anything to add, Larry?
I think that's spot on. I mean, honestly, we do so many eclectic arts that the problem often enough in training and going to even is that there's no curriculum, no rotating curriculum, no written curriculum. And so that organization is totally missed. And honestly, I'm a person that learns way better that way. I know exactly what's expected of me step by step. I can go through these motions. I can practice them. I can test them. I can advance. It shows me where I'm weak. It shows me where I'm strong. And it paves a path for me to be able to walk down. And honestly, that was probably one of my biggest attractions to training with you over 20 years ago, Ron, was the fact that, you started to create a syllabus where other people didn't. And you were calling things by series and you were giving them numbers. And I'm going, oh, my brain works this way. I can keep track of this. I can memorize it. And so, yeah, I still love it to this day. And I'm excited to actually see it come to life in this medium, in this format now, so that we can show everybody else across the world exactly what, I don't know, I fell in love with a long time ago, but I'm sure the rest of my people would agree the same.
It's funny you touched on something I wanted to talk about. I categorize everything. It helps me like just retain it. But as you know, I will change things. And like anybody else, I'm out of order sometimes. I'm like, oh, wait, I taught this and I should have taught that. And this website's forcing me now to really calcify. And there's good and bad to that too, though. It's great to have a set thing, but it's martial art research systems. There's more always coming in different influences. So, I don't know if people online, if anybody's listening, but if people could come up with like palatable ways that I can modify and change to where I don't really rock the boat too much. Because I mean, even because of this new Zoom world, I've changed so much. there's a lot of stuff that I'm doing that I've never done before. Not never done, that I wasn't teaching. I found out when I'll go on. Some of my teachers would teach a certain way, and there was like a lot of drilling stuff. And then when I go on seminar, people, I could just see I was losing them. They wanted partners, and they wanted to kind of have their thing, you know, with their partner, not solo stuff. And I would just start to lose people. And I just thought I gotta kind of, get them on Zoom. And I go, this solo training, all of a sudden now they love it. And so maybe it was my poor teaching to where they didn't get it. But now that I'm doing Zoom, I have to do it this way. I have to go, all right, we're going to go solo stuff. I've managed to figure out how to teach partner stuff on Zoom also. It's tricky, but I'm getting through it. But the solo stuff is really, really a good thing for today. So I'm going to start putting that back into our curriculum. And I got to figure out how not to rock the boat too much to where people are like, wait, I got to test with this now to get past. But it is, because we're evolving. And that's the whole thing about martial art research systems.
Yeah. Well, I think the whole Zoom, the boom with Zoom and getting into that, you're right. When we first started, it's kind of awkward, because there's no one right in front of you. And I found in the last 3 months, when it's really good, when you almost forget that your students are not in the same room with you. You know what I mean? I get going, and all of a sudden I feel like they're right there. And so through the process, it's all, every time I'm teaching a technique, I'm always thinking from their perspective, where do I need to be so they can see that? So it makes you a better instructor too, I think. Much better, because they're in front of you all here, and yet you've got to make sure when you're showing a technique, are they seeing the angle, right? And how do I break it down so that they can understand it? And I've found that my teaching has gotten much better. Just the fact that I have to teach through Zoom now. Yeah. But it's convenience for me. I mean, I'm at home. Deb and I always kind of jokingly, all right, let's go home, honey. We take 5 steps and we go into our house, And so I love the fact we don't have to commute and deal with traffic anymore.
Yeah. But I really need to figure out, or just to make people, I think key to it is just communications, that I have to make people understand it's going to change. And it's changing because I feel I'm evolving, and maybe I see people in a different way, or we're under different restrictions, like being stuck at home. Now I know we have this vaccine going, and I'm really hopeful, but I still think that Zoom's not going anywhere soon. I think that's going to be a part of everybody's life for a while. And thank God we do have it, but, we all know that we're getting Zoom fatigue, but think of life without this right now. It'd be really, really bad. So at least everybody's got that. So we're just gonna have to modify. It's just like in martial arts. If one thing's not working for you one way, you go another way. So Zoom is the way right now. So, with that said, I'm going to start to try to make some stuff on the website reflect a lot of solo training. I'll have the partner stuff, but I think the solo stuff is really important right now, and I want to get that out. So
I'd love to add to that real quick too, Ron. I've obviously got students on all sides of the fence with this, and so we modified, we pivoted from the beginning. We had our in classes, and we started doing some social distancing a year ago, and then we started doing some Facebook Live inside our own private group for the school. Then of course we all experienced the lockdown in different areas and stuff like that, and then kind of countrywide. So then we're like, okay, so we're going to teach from home. So what's this new thing called Zoom? I've never used it before. And somebody interviewed me for something else that I teach at, and it was my first time being on this platform. And so it was neat to kind of get a chance to experience it. Well, of course, we adopted it right away, and I'm trying to Google and figure out everything I can to work with it. But we kept going. So we were all myself, my instructors, they were teaching from their individual garages or their backyards with their cameras and, our laptops and everything else. And we kept classes going, for the duration of the lockdown. When we went back in May, we put some safety protocols in and stuff like that at the school, which was great. But we didn't get rid of Zoom, and we didn't get rid of our Facebook Live feed in our group either. And so now, like even just Monday, I had one of my ongoing students now that works with my wife. She had brought her cousin in to train, and she said, hey, my cousin had a question. Are you guys going to keep up with the Zoom thing? And I said, absolutely. Like, I don't ever see us discontinuing our virtual profile now that we've created it. because now that cousin who's an airline attendant or a flight attendant that flies everywhere can still log in at any point in time and train. And I said, furthermore, I'm saving every one of those broadcasts in our closed Facebook group for the school, so she can always go back and watch those as well. So I don't see this disappearing anytime soon. Pandemic aside, like, this is a great new way for us to all be able to dial in and be able to train with each other.
Well,
Yeah,
one of the things, Larry, is, and I touched on this last night with my black belt. Some of them, they were training. They left in 2000 in their back, and I said, "Isn't it cool the fact that not only that you're getting this kind of more personal instruction now, because now I'm watching all the students and correcting them, but you get a recording because I always post the recording right after. So if someone misses class, they can go and watch it. And so, for instance, tomorrow we're going to go off down south." Because I heard that there's like these 20,000 cranes that come to this location. So I got to go check that out. And, but I'm not sure if I'm going to get reception down there. So I already told my students, look, if you don't get it, I'm going to post a previous class that we did. I want you to watch it. And I'm going to add some more content up that I want you to study, stuff that I recorded. And they're cool with that because they know, what do? They're just going to stream it on their TV. So it's still like watching. And the only thing I can't do is give them feedback. But the fact that they can do that, it gives me a backup. I mean, I'm not like, okay, I just got to cancel class today. I give them assignments, and then, they're expected to work it, so I can kind of check them out on the next class next week.
yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I was on with the Ukraine and Switzerland this morning. I have France, I have Belgium, I've got England, Germany. So many countries are coming on with me just to do Facebook. Not Facebook, Zoom. And there's no excuse really. A lot of people are like, God, I would love to train with you if I could. And I'm like, you can now, just as easily as a guy who lives next door to me now. You can have time with me. We're all under the same constraints. And if you really want to get down what I'm doing, now's the time, especially right now. So, yeah.
So just again, a plug about where the direction we're going to go now with the website, because some of you have been members for a while, and we're making some big changes. And Ron discussed this too, and we talked about it, Larry and I, that we're going to bring in other people that will have their course content. So, like I said, this is going to be like a playground for martial artists. I mean, everything that you want, that you dream of, we're going to be going for. So, Ron's talked to some people, I've talked to some people. So when we get down the road, this will be something later. The first phase is just to get this updated, all the material refreshed, get new content for you. And find those gaps. And Larry's been working a lot with himself and some of his students to find out what are we missing and can we bring in some more content. So that's our kind of first phase. Phase 2 is where we're going to start recruiting some other instructors to bring their material in too. So
this is awesome. I got my iWatch on, and I'm getting text from people asking me questions because they're watching us on live. And one of my good friends, that I've known for years, awesome martial artist, he's asking if I'm doing live stuff. And let's talk about this. Let's recap it. So for him, I do privates if that's what somebody wants. But if they want, when they get on the online training, we're going to be doing 2. I keep wanting to call it a private. It's not a private. Let's pick a better name for that. Like a group class, but I'll be live on, and we can go in that way. If people are on, if you have questions, you could ask me, and we can work this whole thing, a little more interactive. But 2 classes a month, correct?
yes.
And
Sure.
So I figured, we won't have a set day all the time because it might change. Schedules get crazy with me, with everybody else. But we will make sure that that's up. So it's going to be part of the give me with it. Mm-hmm. Is if somebody joins online, you're going to get a pass to come into this training event, and I will work out with people. So for the price, my fees can exceed $150. I have a sliding scale, but some people, it depends what they want and what we're doing. But what you're getting in a couple classes, what it would cost you for what, like the whole year, Cliff?
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you think of just like, I was talking to Ron about this, 2 classes. I mean, most of us charge like about $150 an hour to do a class, when you're doing a group like that. But you figure that's $300 a month. That's $3,600 a year right there, additional to what you've been getting. So you're going to get more. And, we're going to under promise and over deliver, because there's going to be other things that you're going to get over time, but we just don't want to throw it all out there yet and, get disappointed from you because you're like, where is this material? But we have already discussed a lot of different things that we're going to be throwing on over time. But initially, we're going to start with, getting 2 classes, and you'll have them recorded. We'll save them. So let's say you're in a different time zone, we'll still have that access.
Yeah, it's once it's filmed, it's going to be up. And so if you can't make it that day when I'm on live, just like you were talking about with your classes, Cliff, you'll be able to shoot on. And I've done that with everybody who's done the online events that I've already had, the Zoom events, is if you paid, you're paying once and then you're in and you got it. So a lot of people were like, do I have to pay again for that? No, we're going to put it, it's going to be up on the site and it's yours to go back on. And I just got hit with another one too. This is funny. My watch keeps going off. Kind of the same question.
Hey, Ron, and
yeah,
on that note, I'm going to paste in the link too, because we created the Mars Action Group Forum as just a closed group that anybody can be in. All they got to do is ask for permission to come in. And we would love to have just all those questions pouring in there, because that documents it for us. And all 3 of us are able to scroll through and actually keep tabs and keep track of a lot of those comments, which is great. So just the more we can get on that, I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, and on the same note, the online training site, it doesn't cost you to subscribe to it. You'll get free content in there, but just to get into the other stuff, you got to be, in that other tier. But if you go to my Mars online site, ronbalicki.com or marsactiongroup.com, you'll go and you'll see the online training. You can go on there and you can subscribe. It's pretty simple, and then you'll start to get correspondence from us. And you're going to get access into the site for a lot of free content also.
You'll throw the link in there too in the comment section?
Doing it as we speak.
Cool.
Right.
Okay.
So what else? What else should we hit?
Well, let's kind of talk about, again, the format. Our plans are we're going to do a weekly podcast, and we may not all be here at the same time because maybe Ron might have an acting gig or something he has to do. Larry might be going to New Mexico for vacationing. Right? I might be, heading to Cancun. But we'll try to be here all together at 3. But we're going to come up with a schedule that we can consistently talk, and we'll have guests. And we'll bring different guests, different topics. So I've already reached out to a lot of people in our industry about, hey, would you come on? And they're like, cool, yeah, that'd be awesome. And sometimes it might be a well-known actor, that we've been searching, and so we just want to get a. Yeah,
I've got well-known actors that I've already reached out to that said they would come in, and that's all cool. And I don't want to oversaturate it with that stuff. But what I want to do is, like you said, have certain other people join in. And I know that there are so many people doing these online. I don't know. Would it be? It's not really a podcast, or is it? I'm so ignorant to that. Podcast more audio, right? The way my understanding. And
a lot of them are transitioning now. They'll do audio, and they'll also YouTube it at the same time. And they'll go live like this so that people can interact a little bit more with them, which is cool.
And it's funny, because actually the brainchild behind this was my wife for me when I first threw the idea with you guys. And she's like, you should make it interactive. She goes, what is it? The View. She's like, make it like The View. And I'm like, right away. But the dude in me came out. But I go, she's right. It's a lot easier to have a good conversation when we're bouncing it off other people, because I could be off and missing something, and then you would remember it, Larry, or you would remember it, Cliff, and you'll bring it up. Or there's really no lulls then, and it isn't like a stammering for something to keep somebody occupied with. And we'll, if we bring in like a fourth as one of the guests, or even a fifth, if we have 2 people on, there's room now for that, and it can really go. And I'm going for it. I'm excited to do this, because there's a ton of stuff that I want to do. And you know what? Don't laugh at me. But at the start of this, we were talking, and I got a couple names, and I'm going to throw out a name, and I want either of you guys to talk about it. So Larry, tell me about Uncle Ed. Now, this is the point. Wait, before you go, Larry, I want to do this. I want to hit this. I want to hit people with questions about who made a difference in your life. And this is going to be kind of a regular thing. I mean, obviously I'll go way beyond it, but there are some key people who have transformed me, I feel, not that I'm all that now, but I mean, they've made me what I feel a better person, or got me to, to the point where I'm at. And it's not always a martial artist. So it doesn't have to be a martial artist, Larry. So, and that's what I asked Larry before we went. And I don't know if Uncle Ed was, I said, don't tell me anything about him. I want to know when you say it or when you talk about him. But what did he do and why is he so important? And what's up with Uncle Ed?
That's an awesome question. So Ed Bowser, my adopted uncle, if you guys are in the martial arts world, you probably have a million uncles, right? That's like my daughters. They've got a ton of uncles and aunts. And that's, I think, where it started for me was pre-martial arts. I was probably 4 or 5, somewhere in there. My dad and my mom used to always go listen to Uncle Ed and his brother play at a live band, which was really cool. It's funny going back into the pictures and looking at these, 1975 to 80 to 81, 82, outfits on stage. But he was more than a musician, which was cool. He was a devout Christian. He would take me to church on Sundays, just him and I. He would take me camping, and he would teach me how to hike and how to make a fire and how to pitch a tent and do all these different things that maybe my dad really wasn't into, so he became not just kind of my adopted uncle and my godfather, but also kind of like a bit of a father figure, which was really cool. And one of my biggest memories, other than the camping and stuff, and probably complaining like most kids, hiking forever, and when are we going to be done? And he'd give me a piece of candy and say, come on, keep coming, was he taught me how to swim. And yeah, this was rough, guys. I mean, I lived in Galveston, or right off of on the mainland there. And he took me to the beach, and he would teach me how to float and deal with the waves and move into the waves sideways and stuff like that. And so one rough day, he takes me out, and he was about 6'4", 6'2", something like that. I mean, to me, he was 7 foot tall. It didn't matter. And he would put his hand underneath my belly and have me float, and he would have me like dog paddle if I lost it a little bit, and he would just kind of work me a little bit. And then he would start teaching me kind of the ice cream scoops, right? And so we're out deep. I mean, it's up to here on him, and he starts kind of walking backwards, and he's got me, and he goes, you're doing good. He goes, keep moving those arms, and then he just lets go, right? And of course I go, and I go underwater, and I'm like, so I start like dog paddling up, and I take a big gasp of air, and he's like, it's like something out of a movie. He's like, oh, God, boy, and I'm like, and right over, I get a couple scoops in, and a wave comes overhead, boom, just knocks me down, right? And then I start dog paddling back up, and I'm gasping for air, and he's just like, I mean, I feel like he's farther than this camera at this point, but he's probably just like that far apart, you know what I mean? But he's making me reach, and I just kept getting hammered by waves, guys, left and right, hammered constantly, until finally I'm literally clawing my way up the sand on the beach, choking water out and everything. And then I'm just like laying there like lifeless, and he picks me up, throws me over his shoulder, carries me up, puts a seatbelt on me in the truck, and I don't even remember the ride home, you know what I mean? But he taught me how to swim, but I think most of you guys would probably agree, he taught me more than just how to swim. Sure. So he taught me how to deal with adversity and just everything else. And we've kind of had a hard time reconnecting off and on, but when my mom passed away, he was there. And when I asked him to speak, he was there. And then he told a story. He goes, I kind of followed you for a while. And he goes, I saw a couple moments in time where you stood at a crossroad and you had to make a choice, and you were looking at some dark paths one direction, and you were looking at a much better path in the other direction. And I'm here to tell you that your mom would be proud of you for choosing the best path and walking towards the light. So, so he was kind of like a rock, in my past, to give me that survival skills through life. So that's Uncle Ed.
That's cool. And I just lost it.
Hold on, I'm coming back. I was just making sure I didn't lose my dog, because I heard him barking out there, and I go, okay, where are you at? He's a little escape artist, the guy. Yeah.
You want me to go, or you want to go?
I'll go.
You're up.
Okay. So, okay, one of my most influential people, I think, that really impacted my life was he's a football coach and most people in Tacoma or Washington State would know him, Frosty Westring. So one of my students at that time, it's like around, I think, 1982-ish, I wanted to work with the Seattle Seahawks, because that, Ron, back in the day, Gruden and those guys worked with the Cowboys, and I thought, I want to work with the Seahawks, right? And it was like, how do you get your foot in the door? So one of my students used to play for the Buffalo Bills, and he said, hey, let me introduce you to Frosty Westering. I go, Frosty? I go, what's that? I'm thinking of Frosty the Snowman, right? So he says, well, let me introduce you. So I come in, and I told him, I said, well, I said, hey, the Dallas Cowboys work with martial arts and some concepts. Maybe I can work with your team. And so we kind of talked it over. He goes, yeah, that'd be cool. We'll do that. And I said, okay, well, how much would you pay me? And he looked at me and goes, I'm not going to pay you anything. He says, in fact, you should be paying me. And jokingly, and I'm like, he goes, here. He gave me, we called it the playbook. And it was really the playbook of life. And all his players would get this, right? And he says, go ahead, have a seat in the classroom. So I'm sitting there and I'm kind of flipping through it. And then he starts talking about, stories like, this the acre of diamonds. And he tells a story about how this guy was always searching, for diamonds and everything. Anyway, the long story short, it was actually on his property, so sometimes it's not, you're looking everywhere else. And the moral of the story is it's right under your nose. You just didn't look there, right? So I kind of was really intrigued. And then he started going through goal setting. Listen, I never even heard what goal setting was. My dad, he was a really hard worker. He never had really goals or aspirations because no one taught him. He came from a poor family. They started out kind of as migrant workers out of Arkansas, moved down to New Mexico. He left home at 13. So he never really had that background, or he didn't have a mentor that really helped him. So my dad didn't have the tools to share that with me. So all of a sudden I'm like, what is this goal setting? I didn't understand this concept. And then I would I was fascinated by Frosty because he was an amazing speaker. He did a lot of public speaking engagements also. And he was, he loved teaching the game of life on the football field. And that's what it really got down to, teaching these guys. And he told me that I'm teaching them the game of life right here and that's the playbook. He explained that to me. So he had a lot of opportunities. There was some NFL teams that wanted him to be a coach, but he always turned it down because he liked working kind of that small town, small group of people. So when I first opened my school, I started setting goals, started doing those things, and I was like, wow, this stuff really works, right? And so goal setting has been a big part of my life, and Frosty was that person who influenced me. When you got around Frosty, his enthusiasm and passion, you could just feel it, right? We talked many times, and I actually had him on. I had a radio show that I did in Tacoma. I had him as a guest. I had him on my MA talk that I used to do for Maya. I mean, he just was a very dynamic, influential guy, very charismatic. So honestly, public speaking, everything I learn, I always look at Frosty. Without him, if I hadn't met him, I wonder, where my life would be today, because he's the guy that kind of got me on that success in my martial arts school by teaching me those fundamentals. So that's one of mine. Next time we talk, we have stories to share. How about you, Ron?
I thought about it, and I mean, I have a lot of influences, and it's awesome. And that's why I thought this would be a great thing to do. And I go, maybe the first one I shouldn't talk about a martial artist, but I want to talk about a martial artist. One of the people who made one of the biggest impact in my life, and I'm not going to bring up Dan Inosanto, who has. That's not where I'm going. I would have to say it'd be Edgar Saluti, and not yes for the martial arts, but almost as a life coach. Let me tell you a story about him. All right, here's a man who he died really early, way before his time, and he managed to get his butt to this country. And he had that whole family, and he said, I'm going to get them here too. I would train with him, and he lived in this little tiny, like, mother-in-law type apartment, and nothing fancy at all. I would remember training. We'd all train out, and a lot of my friends out here in Facebook were with me. I've got a lot of LeMaco brothers that are friends with me and that might get to see this, but they'll remember this. We'd be in the driveway, and that's where we would do all the training. Eventually, you're there for a long time. You have to use the restroom. So I would go into the restroom, and I would remember you would open the door, and then you would go in, and the toilet was about this far from the door, the toilet, your face. So when you shut the door, your knees are touching the door, and on it, he had all these affirmations, and there was a lot of, he was way into Anthony Robbins back then. And you got to remember, it was post everybody having a video camcorder and the internet. So he was reading everything he could get. And it was really cool because I would shut that door and it was this far from my face, all the stuff. So you had no choice but to read the stuff, and I remember coming out and saying, "Oh, you like Anthony Robbins?" And he's like, "I love him." And I said, "Yeah, I have his whole series. He had like an audio cassette series on regular cassette." And I go, did you want to listen to him? And he goes, "Could I?" And I gave it to him, never got them back. Didn't want them back though. I couldn't ask for it back. They were expensive too.
Yeah.
I think I paid probably $500 back then for it. And I wasn't making that much money then. And he didn't waste it. That guy was diving in head first, and everything about him was just getting to that next level. And there's something that really impressed me about the man. My chief definite name letter, Bruce Lee. Do you ever hear that? It's sold for the most at the auction when they had the Bruce Lee auction. It was like, he detailed my chief definite aim. I will be the biggest superstar in the world. I will make martial art. I will let everybody know about you. It's his would it be affirmation or his mission
mantra, basically.
His mission statement of what he was going to do. Edgar Saluti had that. And it was in the bathroom, and it was right next to the Anthony Robbins stuff, and he lived it. And I said, "You're not even taking a break, even when you go in a bathroom." And he said, "It's the best time. I got nothing to do but look forward," And he imposed that on me a lot. He demanded a lot from me, and he did it in a loving, nurturing way. He whipped my butt sometimes, but it was never, there was never ego with him. He was just, all it was about making that system greater, perpetuating it further, making you a greater person and bringing you to a level that you thought maybe you couldn't reach. And he reached, he made me realize, there's the only ceiling on top of me is the one I'm putting on myself. And that's why I love him. And I think about him every day. He never let me down. He never delivered false goods. He never made a promise that he broke. He was just so solid and so wonderful. And I think that, out of everybody that I know, I don't know anybody who's had anything bad to say about him, so he changed me, and I love him for it. So, we always talk about like how bad ass everybody is and how they could fight, and he could do that. And I'm not going to go into any of that. It's just his inner power. He can make you do anything. He made me, after every class, he would be like, "Okay, now we sing karaoke." I'm like, no, I don't want to sing, and he would force me. He's like, "It's part of your LeMaco training. You got to sing." And I'm like, "Oh, damn it," and he'd get up there and he'd belt it out like he was like, Frank Sinatra, get the shoulder roll and everything going. And that's a whole another fun story, but I couldn't do it. I didn't have the nerve. And maybe that was part of the learning too. Like you, Larry, I had to reach and do something I wasn't comfortable doing. He made me do it. And it, you realize that, yeah, you could do these things that you really don't want to do, but at the end of it, you're okay. You're going to be okay. Just keep going,
Right.
But Cliff, did you ever get to meet him?
No, and I'm really disappointed, because just your stories and talking about him, I go, God, I wish I would have met him. Unfortunately, he, like say, he died at a very young age. But what you said was very important, and I always think about this myself, is that, we can't help the human part of us, is that we fear things. And, I've always taught this to my students. When you face something when you face fear, every time you try to find the things that you're afraid of, because every time you do it, it empowers you. Because people like to take the most comfortable road, and that's like stay away from things that you're afraid of. And I've always kind of said, okay, if I'm afraid of doing something, I need to do it because that's going to empower me, right? And so I'm sure that that's the way that Edgar looked at life also, right? Challenge you, making you push you because you grow from that. And there's so many people who lead their life and just being comfortable. They're afraid to do anything, and they don't really live enriched lives that way. That's the way I look at it.
I talked about that mission statement, and part of it was, I will be, like this as an instructor, and I will make LeMaco known all over the world, and I will get my family here. And he was well on his way. He got a guy just teaching private lessons and some seminars managed And he didn't know people. He didn't get to pull strings and get his family. He worked hard, got attorneys, got them all working on it, and he got his family members here. And he was going through a hard time because his eldest, by the time he left, by the time he was able to get them here, and I don't know if I could do it. It was so hard for me. He just knew they would have a better life here, he said. And his one son, I think, had reached an age to where I think immigration was giving him a hard time. And he had to fight real hard to get him here, but he got them all here, and he was just, he was great. There was fun sides to him too, I mean, his humor, everything. I just remember a couple times, like we'd be training. I guess we weren't putting the energy in that he kind of was trying to get out of us, or just making it as aggressive as we wanted. And he would look at me, he'd go, "Why are you doing this to my art? You don't like my art?" I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "My art's not supposed to look like this." And I was like, and you'd give it that extra because, he was just going to press you into it, but he would guilt you into it, but he would do it in such a fun, humorous way, and he was just a good man. He was a good guy. Yeah. Sorry, I had audio go on somewhere in my house. Do you hear that, or are we good?
Yeah, just very faint. Yeah, I can.
Okay. Sorry about it, viewers. Sorry. Anyway, this is the kind of stuff that I want to get into. So that's your little, like, our little seed that we're planting in your brain is, I think that if we get some really great people, and I have a lot of great names that are willing to do it. I'm not going to say them because if I don't deliver that way, I'm not making a promise, but, that way we could do it. I still want to jump up and run. And I don't know if something kicked on. Is there an audio? Can we turn it off? You guys talk for 1 second?
Yeah.
Sure thing, man. No, I love
Larry,
that.
Larry, let's talk a little bit about the camp that you got going out in November, because that's like a vacation camp, right? You piqued my interest as soon as I knew it was, near Cancun. I go, okay, that's fun. Yeah.
Let's go. Yeah. No, it was a blast. We did it last year in November. That was our original, like, planned first camp, which was good. Of course, COVID brought all sorts of different things at us. So we potted up and we still went down there with about 14 people. I think we had it was either 7 or 9 people actually training. I think it was 9 people training. We didn't have our instructors present, right, because of travel restrictions and things like that. So we were missing Nikolai Soniak, we were missing Ron Balicki in person, but they jumped in, and so did Luc LaFontaine, and they taught just an amazing 5 hours every single day, 3 days. It was cool because, and same plan as last time, is we'll get in about Thursday for this upcoming camp, and then basically we'll go in and train 9 to 1. About 1 o'clock. Our buddies are coming around with buses and vans. They'll pick up all of our significant others, our family members, whoever else is tagging along to go out with us, then come by and then pick us up from training. And then we'll go and do some amazing things. Last time we went to the beach and we had this massive buffet spread. We went to there's a set of ruins, and my buddy owns 42 acres actually in the rainforest. So we were able to get a private tour of the ruins by him, and then we're able to go to his acreage and see the nature preserve he has there. And then revisit that and actually go through a Mesoamerican sweat lodge, which was amazing. It's still, I do it every trip I go, and I can't even, I think I've done it 6 or 7 times now. So it's absolutely amazing. Of course, we're going to the beach, we're snorkeling. If you're certified to dive, you can straight away just go and dive. If you're not certified, you're welcome to try scuba right there on the beach. It's 10 or 15 feet, so it's totally safe and just very fun to get in and get involved. And then we take you to some local taquerias and places like that, which are cool. But we're slotted to go back this year, full kit. It's November 5th, 6th, and 7th. Again, that's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Honestly, last time we went, even with everything else going on, I'll kind of tell you how it all kind of broke down is that, we did our training, we did our fun and stuff like that. And then we had a couple people leave on Tuesday after the camp. And then we had about 3 people live on Wednesday after the camp. And then I don't think anybody left on Thursday. A couple people, including myself, left on Friday, and 2 more people still stayed till Saturday. So yeah, we've got people going and we've got people staying all the way through. When you pay for your registration on the camp, just like our Southwest camp, you're going to get a unique certificate for the blocks that you've completed. You're going to get a camp shirt, which is unique to that camp, which is awesome. You're going to get the 15 hours of training, so 5 hours each day for 3 days. My favorite is you're going to get all those excursions on the itinerary that we have every day for those 3 days are included. So that's pretty cool. And we do lunch on those 3 days. And we also cover a camp dinner in that fee, which is good. I know everybody's gonna be like, how much? There's like 3 different pricing options. But I think everybody will agree that when I say the early bird pre-registration fee for all of that is $649, it's a steal. Okay, it's a steal. This thing is budgeted in between at $1,200 to $1,500, but because we're taking a group and yours truly has a lot of connections down there from the last 11 or 12 years, we've been able to network and make this come to life, which is cool. So I'll paste a link. I've actually got an entire website with awesome pictures and just all the different information and the links on side of that too. But if you guys are interested, would love to have you guys come out. There's a couple of payment plan options too to make life easy. But it was a blast in a small grouping with just our instructors on Zoom and teaching us. And honestly, I've done some stuff, and then our video guy is editing it right now. But you know what the number one comment, and Ron laughed at me when I told him this last time, but I had you and Nick on, remember? The number one comment after the Caribbean camp, again, it was virtual. We were there training. They hated our guts because they were watching us go to all these cool places. But Ron was floored, so was Nick, because the number one comment that came back from the testimonials was that they thought that camp, again, virtual on Zoom, was the most personable experience they had ever had training with the instructors. And there was a unique way that we made that happen.
No.
What'd you say, Ron?
I said, yeah, I don't want to talk to him when I'm next to him, but I'll talk to him on Zoom. No,
well, it was cool because we were
funny. I was like, what?
Yeah.
No.
It was good. But I think we had it ironed out because we had 2 different camera angles. We had each pair come up to the main camera so that every instructor could watch them like directly and work with them for a round, and we rotate them around. And it just, man, it went so cool. So yeah, so I will paste that in there. If you guys can remember it, it's easy too. It's marscaribbeancamp.com. That's pretty simple to remember, but I'll paste the link in here on our conversation thread so you guys can tap onto that. That price is good till April 7th, and then it starts to climb a little bit. So just keep that in mind. And again, there's like a down payment, monthly options, or just straight monthly options that you can pay it out with, which is good. So
yeah. Hey, I know something that's cool too, Larry. I know this amazing portrait photographer that might be available this year too. So if there's enough interest, just think about this. You're on the beach.
What you did though, like for my camp, what you did when everybody came in, he did portraits of everybody that was at my camp. And at first people were like, what? And then once they seen him, everybody was like, oh, can I get that? Because all together, collectively, you made it so much easier for people to do this. It was right there. It was nice. So,
and I tell you, location, being on a beach, because we go to Cancun almost every year, and the sunsets with the clouds and everything in there, and then have it lit, professionally lighting, is just amazing. So that's an opportunity. So if there's enough interest, I'll haul all my equipment down, and we can do that too for people who want to purchase portraits done.
Just gonna say I'm interested, if that matters, but
yeah, I come to think of it, Larry, don't I still owe you a Balicki dummy to give to somebody who?
Yes. I actually have been holding on to the winning ticket right here. Our buddy Lou, he's a police officer out here by us, which is cool. I've been training his son. He's up for his youth black belt, actually, which is cool. And Lou's come to multiple Southwest camps. And every Southwest camp, heck, we even did one for the Caribbean camp. We always have a special prize. So anybody that registers early for the next year's camp gets in the raffle. And it was really exciting to see that Lou won it. He is totally stoked, so which was good. So I was going to tell you, you can send that directly to me if you want. I'll hand it off to him, or you can make it a surprise and I'll get his address and you can send it to his doorstep.
I think it'd be better. Let's give it to you, and that way you get to present it in front of people. So that's pretty. So that we just good. Lou's watching, but okay. So it's all right.
Good job, Lou.
Yeah.
Hey, a question came up earlier that was in messages, and then I was messaging back and forth, which was cool. And I was talking to Conrad, and he was asking about, and I know you and I've covered a little bit of this, but he was asking about an LA camp, or basically the Mars camp, the big like international camp.
That was one of the texts or one of the messages I just looked at on my phone. Yeah, he asked if it was going to be virtual or live, and it's probably gonna be both. Here's the thing. I'd like to have as many people come to LA. We'll give you a different experience, but for those who can't, why should you not be able to train? So I'd like to like make it both. You know, we got to work out the date. You know, with travel restrictions, I have a lot of people in Europe asking me about it right now. In fact, some people contact me this week. Some people like Frank, who's coming to the Caribbean. You know, they're like, "Are you going to do the LA camp?" I had Chile reach out and ask. You know, so we got to figure it out. You know, for me to pull this thing off, well, I mean, you're going through it. I don't have to tell you, Larry, but for me to pull it off, you got to kind of really hustle it and figure out who's going to be there and how far to go with it by the number of people you have. So yes, we're going to do a camp, and I am going to push real hard to make it both live and interactive on the internet, you know, and we'll get it done. I'll get more info. It's something I've been like, with the turn of the vaccine now, people are starting to breathe. They're starting to open things up. People are starting to travel more. So I think we could do it. I know that like my seminars, I've had people ask, and I've actually pulled back still. And it's killing me because I want to work and I like my martial arts. And luckily I do have some film work right now. And I'm doing that. If I didn't have that, I'd just have Zoom going on. You know, I started thinking about it, you know, and I've been diligent about not putting hands on people because of this virus. And I was talking to my student today, Brian, in the Ukraine, and I said, you know, it's probably been a year since I really wrestled. I go, I would get my butt whooped right now if I put hands on somebody, you know, just probably because I'm out of shape that way, most of all. But, you know, it's not a bicycle. You do got to keep going, you know, you'll lose stuff. And, you know, I have the internet, the Zoom, and I'll be able to grab one of my kids, throw them on the ground to show somebody something I'm talking about. But to have a real go with somebody, it's been a while. So, you know, before I do that, I don't want to be a hypocrite and do something that or push on people that I'm not doing. I got to get my butt back in there, and I got to start to, you know, like make my own little pod of people that I feel comfortable with who aren't out around a bunch of people where I get sick, you know, and I don't care where you stand on this whole virus thing. We've lost about 6 people that I know, including my next door neighbor, passed away from COVID. And I had a couple family members we lost. And do you remember Kalindi Ai? Do you remember him, Cliff?
Yeah.
Yeah. He, for those who don't know, Kalindi Ai, if you remember the whole unique videos like Paul Vunak and everything, well, he was the African martial artist. He did the African martial arts, but he also trained with us. I had just gotten to see him last year, just pre-COVID at Graciela Casillas. She had me come and teach a class at her camp, and we had Cliff Stewart there, and we had who everybody confuses with you, Cliff. But we had Cliff, and we had Kalindi Ai and myself taught. And Kalindi, it was good to see him. We talked for a while, but he ended up going home. He and his student Skip, they caught the virus, and they died, you know, a few weeks later, a couple hours apart.
Yeah, I didn't even realize they passed.
Yeah, he's gone from COVID.
Wow.
And, you know, and I had another martial art friend that died. Diana's had some uncles and stuff die, and a lot of family members. I know a lot of people got it. I mean, everybody knows somebody who got it, but it's a lot of death. And I figured with as many people in airports, if I'm going to be traveling, I was a little hesitant. You know, I didn't know if I wanted to like dive into that right away. And, you know, it's just, I don't want my legacy to be, oh, Ron caught COVID and died and gave it to his family. You know what I mean? So I've been really, really good about just being recluse. But my martial arts might have suffered a little bit, but I don't care. You know, I'm working every day. I'm still doing my thing, but it's just, I'm going to wait it out, you know, and I finally see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. So I think I'm going to start to get back out there again.
Yeah. Well, even then I've got vaccinated, I'm still careful. I mean, I'm still socially distanced, washing my hands all the time because you just don't know. There might be a variant that comes out, and I don't want to be the guinea pig and say, oh, I don't want to be known that I died of COVID either. Yeah.
I got my first shot. Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah. Larry, go get your shot. So
go get it.
Yeah.
My wife's got her double, so she's good to go. So I'm next on the list. So that'd be good. I think, you know, we've been able to pull off some really good virtual stuff with the camps. And honestly, I think that we could do it It would be interesting to maybe be able to host it both ways, kind of like we've done with the Caribbean camp and even with the Southwest camp recently, to see how it would work. I mean, honestly, you know, we have people we obviously feel comfortable with here. We don't necessarily need to travel if we don't want to. We could host the Mars camp in my school and in that school and in that school and in that school. You know what I mean? And it's just beautiful how we now have this availability to be able to do it. Of course, we all want to be with you. I mean, there's no doubt. We want to see all the instructors. We want that camaraderie and everything. But I think having it both ways is a great way to balance everybody's comfort level, which is great because they can either do it by themselves, they can do it with a partner they're comfortable with, they can do it at that school they're comfortable with, or they can travel and come do it like they've always done it, you know?
Let me interrupt 1 second. Conrad again asked a question. Conrad, he said, will the shop be mandatory for the camps? I don't know about that. You know, that's things we need to weigh out too. You know, I still think that masks are a good idea. Not touching everybody around you, distance as much as possible. So if we can get little training pods maybe and just do the camp, maybe I won't have the same numbers that I usually try to go for, or just get a bigger facility, but that's a give take thing too, because that runs into a little bit more money. Conrad, we're going to have to work on that. We're going to have to figure it out. If anybody has input and knowledge or something that they've done to kind of help me figure out something, I'd appreciate it. You know,
What's the situation in the LA area now on capacity? I mean, Arizona's full capacity for martial arts schools. It's always been, you know,
I think it's limited still. I think that they're still refraining from people, you know, always, you know, big masses getting together. So I don't know. I know our friend Fireborgs, you know, he's got classes going, but I think he's limited it, and just to be safe. And I think he's got the whole 6 foot thing, and you know, you work out your partner, and I think he's wearing a mask. I think with the little kids, God, I don't want to say it wrong. I'm going to refrain from it. You could reach out to him if you know him. But yeah, no, wait. I'm looking at some of the other questions. No, I'm looking at questions on here. We have 58 comments. I don't know if you've seen that, Larry.
Yes, sir. I've been trolling along as everybody's been making comments. So I have a question / idea that I was thinking about this morning. At our Southwest camp, one of the things that we do is we make time, kind of like you've done at the previous camps in the years, you know, where we make some time for testing, right? And one of the things that I enjoy doing each time before we have you guys come out for the Southwest camp is we host like a Mars curriculum workshop, right? And this is a chance where everybody comes in, they bring their sheets, and we kind of go step by step through the sheets and make sure that everybody's got their stuff ready so that when they see you in a couple of weeks, they're good to go and they're ready to test, right? Which is awesome. And that got my brain to thinking a little bit. It might be interesting because, of course, we didn't do that as much with the virtual stuff because we had, you know, kind of like a 2/3, 1/3 thing for our Southwest camp. But it got me to thinking a little bit about it. And I thought, you know, what would be interesting is if maybe we hosted, you know, a virtual class where people could come in, and this would be the beginners class, right? And we could, you know, plan it a month out so everyone has ways to anticipate it. But it would be to get either people who want to come in and actually, you know, make sure they're solid on their basics, doesn't matter what level they're at, right? Or people who are actually wanting to test and move up on the Mars curriculum, right? It would give us a chance to fill in certain gaps and do some things with those people, which would be cool. And then to see them actually test, because I know you've been online testing a lot of people. I see tons coming through my news feed. Yeah. So I think it would be cool. I don't know, everybody out there, you guys tell us what your thoughts are. But if we had like a get you ready class where you guys could bone up and get ready for testing, and then you could set up your tests with Ron individually or within your pods to then qualify your levels, it'd be a win-win.
Here's my hope. I'm getting a lot of people asking for classes and testing and getting ready for it in prep time, and I'd like to start to disperse some of these what would you call it, like not makeup sessions, but like if they have questions, I'm trying to give it a name, but if somebody's like, hey, can I get with you to clarify some things on a test, I want it to go to people like you or Cliff or You know, like I got Chicago, I got Randy and Mark, and you know the Lee brothers in the East Coast, and I mean, I know I'm leaving out tons of people. I had a lot of people everywhere, even as far as Europe. So what I want to do is, if people start to ask me, it might be more affordable. They might be a little more cheaper. You know, I'm not going to put a price to that. But then me, if I'm limited on time, I'd like to say, hey, man, go and get an hour with this guy. He'll get you to where you need to be, and then come back and then test with me. So that way, you know, if they don't want to have to pay my fees, they don't have to. And it helps all these other people get something going during this Zoom time too. And it also gives exposure to people who I think are really good, who could get something going for themselves. And that's ultimately the goal, isn't it? Especially for all of my instructors. I'm going to push them, and I've already done it. And you know, I've had some students ask me, who can I go to? And it doesn't necessarily mean physically go to, but online with Zoom. You know, it's so funny because my wife, you know, she's got like a lot of acting stuff, and there's a thing now where she might have to sing. She's like, oh no. So now it's Zoom singing classes, and it's cool, you know. And I know some people are taking music lessons, you know, online. So we could get you through this martial arts stuff, and if I'm not available for it, we could do that. And especially now, look, I'm trying to, and this is a lot on you, Cliff, a lot of what you brought to the table. We have a lot of people who are a little bit scared of jumping into this whole program because I can be jamming a lot of material and it's overwhelming. So we are trying to push this beginner stuff really rock solid in, and of course into the intermediate and advanced now. But I mean, I want this thing very short up, and I want it really, really user friendly. And there's going to be a lot of people that don't have to be with me to do this. They could be with any of our other instructors. And I want to make this a community, not just, you know, like one place. You know, I want it to be Mars satellite schools. If your school's name something else, doesn't matter. But if you're doing my program, I look at you as a satellite school to it. And if they live by you and they can get with you, and your guys can work out something, you're comfortable with the whole COVID thing, awesome, have at it. If not, it could be cool because you'll look, this whole thing's not going to last forever. And if they are in Arizona, they could be doing this, and they'll get to know you by the time they go with you, because they're going to be able to see you in a while, soon, and they'll already have an established relationship. So I think it'd be a great thing with different places. So what I've done is I've tried to keep people, unless it's a real specialty thing, which I don't think really happened, but in my mind I would do it. But if it's somebody from the East Coast, I'm going to try to throw an East Coast guy at them. You know, if it's the Midwest, I'm going to throw a Midwest guy at them, because hopefully after the pandemic subsides a bit, they'll already have a relationship and they can kind of get together, instead of them saying, well, you know, I'm going to go to whatever school that has nothing to do with us. And that way, it's, you know, you think about this, like I have the same thing going with the film world right now. You know, I have Canada, I have Germany, I have Turkey, Australia. I have people in the film world in all those places. And the beauty of it is, like in Canada, Dan Rizzuto, I could train an actor here, and he's set me up with people, and I've set people with him. Like the first thing that comes to mind is the Lucifer cast, you know, that television show Lucifer. Dan Rizzuto called me, Ron, you want to train these people? So I started to work with them. So then when they were ready and they moved off to Vancouver to go film it, they got with Dan. They already had the same terminology, the same stuff. Do you know what I mean? So it was like they already felt comfortable. It wasn't like, oh, I have to learn this new way and this new terminology and this new outlook. We're all on the same page. Yeah, it meshes, you know, and you know, Sensei Benny Yakitas and we were talking about doing that together too, because he does a lot of the film world, and we were going to make this thing to where his program, my program were interactive, and we were locked into where he could just go hand it off to Ron, and we were on that same page together. And I want that with the martial art world too. It just makes sense, you know, because Zoom's going to subside. People are going to end up eventually within the next couple of years be putting hands on each other. And I'd rather it be through us and them not going to a new group and saying, you know, learning a new way. They're already established. You already got time in. It's like going to a university, and that's what I want. So you guys want to add anything?
That leads. Yeah, I remember, and I don't know if one of our ideas that kind of came with that, we were talking about maybe scheduling out a bunch of people and having a lot of teachers do something that was Mars related, kind of along the same lines. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Um, I'm I'm so blank on what you were just asking. Say that again. I don't think I understood what
So
you.
yeah, so I know one of our ideas that we haven't really spilled the beans about was something along the same lines that you were talking about, where it's kind of a university, right? And people could have access all over the world 24/7, right?
Oh,
And it
okay.
would be live to where.
I totally know. I was thinking something else. I had something else in my brain. That's why I figured I better stop it. But no, exactly. And then another thing that we want to do, we talked about subtitles. You just made me think about that, right, Cliff?
Yeah.
So now we thought of, because I have a lot of people who are on other continents. So if we could start to try to get this stuff subtitled, and I don't know if it's possible, but we're really working on it. But if not, I've got Mars instructors who do speak those languages. So we can make this 24/7, sometimes even like if I don't know if I told you guys this. I got hit with some questions after our last little thing, and we said we're going to do these live classes, and people said, "Well, what time zone are you going to do them on?" And I thought about it, and I go, "That's a good point," because I have probably just as many, if not more, people in Europe who follow me than here in the States. So maybe we should do one that caters to their time zone. And then what I could do is I could put in one of my guys who are already instructors who speak that language. And as I'm teaching, just have them interpret for me. We could start off with stuff like that just to make it more interactive between all these different countries. So, obviously I can't have 5 guys speaking German, French, Flemish, whatever, but I can say, all right, we're going to cater to everybody who speaks French this time. I got this instructor, he's fluent, or I have somebody from Spain, and we go from there, Turkey, whatever, it doesn't matter, whatever country we'll cater to. But, if we could figure out a way that really, really works just in a fair way that's sensible for us to do, I'd be really up for it. Yeah.
I think that would rock.
Yeah. Anything else, guys?
No, I think we're off to
sure.
a good start. We'll try to solidify what days and routinely we're going to do our podcasts. So right now, just it's going to be up in the air, but I think in the next month or two, we'll all come up with a good schedule.
Yeah. All right. We should do more of these. And like I said, maybe we should start to do these. I don't know if we do them bi-monthly, weekly, but just try to jump on for a while and just talk to people and let them know what we got going on and take questions. I don't know if you heard some voices were coming on my thing. I tried to go on Facebook, and then I was getting our volume at an 8-second delay or 30-second delay from us. So I just got out of there because everybody's going to be going, what the heck? There's a lot of bleed over. So what I'll do is I'll get better at that too. This is all new to me. This is a new world, even though we've been in COVID for a year now. But I have my iPad. I'm just going to kick volume off. That way I can start to read comments and I could be on with you guys without screwing up our audio. So it's learning. We'll get better. And, a lot of surprises coming for me right now that I'll be revealing pretty soon, doing a lot of projects and some cool stuff. So it's a good time. Like I said, there's light at the end of this COVID tunnel. We're out. Just wash your hands, wear masks, stay away from people. And even if you got vaccinated, just be careful, tread lightly, one other thing, two other things before we go on my part. Professor Salem Asli, or Asil, depends how you want to say his name, but I've trained Savat with him for years. He was in a really bad motorcycle accident. I might have mentioned it before. I don't know if I mentioned on our last thing. There's a GoFundMe page. If you guys could give a little, I don't care if it's $5, $10, $1,000, whatever, but he just went through a 12-hour surgery yesterday. He has some leg damage, I think abdominal problems. I think he bit his tongue off. They did put that back on and he's talking. So that's a great thing, but he's in trouble and he's a martial art brother of ours for how long, Cliff? 30 something years now, 40 maybe. And, a lot of you may know him. Maybe you didn't know he was hurt. But he is, he could use a little bit of help. And, Just the other thing I wanted to say is just you know, if you want more information, if you want private training, you could reach out to any one of the three of us. And it's, if you want to test, you know, we'll start to figure that out where you can book time with me and get all that going. But no, this is cool. And if you have idea for guests or ideas on how to improve the show, let me know. You know, I have some people who are talking about helping us out a little bit to maybe make, you know, not big funds, but a little bit of funds to make like splash pages and stuff like that, you know. So we have that going too. I'm not going to say names until everything's shored up on that end. So with that, I don't know, we cover it or we good?
I think we did good, and there's going to be great things coming down the line. Just got to hang in there and watch it. But May is our date that we're hoping to get everything launched, and as we get closer, we'll give you more information on that.
Yeah.
And by the way, feel free anytime we post some of the things to share that. We'd appreciate it if you could share it on your Facebook.
Yeah, please do. And you know, right now the three of us we're trying to look at calcifying a name for this whole thing that we're doing online, but we're going to do it. And you know, I know, you know, Cliff is no stranger to this. This is not his first rodeo. He had his own radio show. You know, Larry, he's camera shy. Yeah, right. No, I think we have a good crew. I think we're going to get this thing going pretty good, and we're going to try to make it, you know, something really clean, really nice. You got a hair out of place, Larry. A hair. So with that, gentlemen, I'm signing off. So thank you for everything, and Wakanda forever. And let's talk soon. And we're in a meeting tomorrow morning, gentlemen. I'll see you in the morning.
Yeah. All right. Aloha, guys.
All right. Do we lose Larry? He locked. Is he there? You there, Larry?
Either that or he's just,
Larry.
Yep.
Sorry.
He's rubbing his head like a genie.
Yeah. We had to picture you like this for the last minute. Yeah. So, all right, guys, it was good. If anybody has any questions or any concerns or any criticism, give it to Larry because I did it right. He messed up.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thanks for your support, guys.
You know that's always going to be Larry's fault because Cliff and I do it right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Love you, brothers. I'll talk to you. See you
Bye-bye.
tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.